All right, Michelle.
Super, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I saw Kennia laugh when that slide popped up, and I know exactly why she's laughing, because there's a little surprise on there. She probably never thought she would see again after she shared that this summer. That was during Ambassador Summer Camp. We put out a challenge to teachers to share a childhood photo of themselves. And this is the one that Kennia chose. And I thought it was so precious. When I was thinking, what pictures do I have of Kennia? I'm like, oh, I know what I have. So I hope you don't mind that I put that on there.
I love it.
Good. It's so cute. I figured she shared it publicly on Twitter, and that's where I went and pulled it from. So I felt like I was safe. But we are thrilled to have Kennia with us today. She is a current Participate Learning Ambassador teacher. She's from Honduras. She right now teaches in one of our partner dual language programs in Wake County here in North Carolina, just down the road from our head office. And she's at Jeffries Grove Elementary. That's where that program is. She's very active on Twitter. She shares a lot on there. If you do not follow her already, you can be inspired by all of her creativity and innovation. And if you are ever looking for ideas, she is one of the teachers that you make sure you have in your network. She gives you glimpses into what she is doing, teaching and learning, what her students are doing, her dog, and lots of other things. So go and connect with her if you don't do that already. But the other thing that is true about her is that, like today, she is always willing to share with others. So this is not the first time that she has had her mic on and been sharing with other people. Last March, we were planning to have a symposium. She was going to present at the symposium and do a session, a bright spot session around gamifying math. And sadly, that got canceled, but we look forward to another time when she will be able to present in person. She has been in United We Teach Live before and talked about classroom community and how to create that virtually and engage students. And she is just dedicated, you can tell, to doing what is right by students in a way that is engaging and exciting and covers all the standards they need to cover, while also being a lifelong learner and eager to grab new PD, but also to share what she has learned with others. And that's what she's going to do today. So she's going to talk to us about game changers in dual language programs. So whether you use it specifically in your classroom or use it in the school you're in, she's going to help us look at some strategies that will promote student engagement and social emotional learning. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to you, and
Thank you.
You're going to work your magic.
Oh my gosh, after you said all that, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I live up to that.
You will. You do every single day. No doubt.
Well, thank you so much for that. And thank you, everybody. I mean, I know it's late and, we've had long days of work, but, I think that what our students need the most right now is us being there for them. These are challenging times for everybody, like including ourselves, like that self-care that we need, but we also, have to find ways to connect with them as well. So that's one of the reasons why I, as soon as I said like social emotional, yes, I'm on it, I'm bored. So I shared on the chat box, there's a pair deck. If you guys can access the link, this is one of the things that I initially do on a day-to-day basis with my students. Once I discovered Pear Deck, it was completely a game changer. Like most of all, because it helps me. Right now you're seeing what my students see, but then there's also a teacher feature, which, like when you start, it kind of asks you how you're feeling. So it normally has like a little face at the beginning. So some kids, like they have that smiley face and oh, they're good. Some kids are like, put that meh face. I didn't know that meh was an actual feeling, but apparently now it's one of those things. So how are you feeling today? Meh. I mean, my fifth graders are meh a whole lot of times, so I'm kind of like, okay, let's go with that. So this kind of gives you a glimpse on how they are before you even start the session. Now, okay, so I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet because most importantly, I think that one of the things that we really need to do is have these discussions. I know that all of us are here because we care. So we're going to go over what social emotional learning is. Then we're going to talk a little bit about your why. We're going to go over some strategies and then hopefully just, have a nice discussion. So over here, I have something, and that's me, and there's some images about it. So if I were to ask you, what can you infer about Señora Fuentes? That's, in this case, that's me. So based on the images that I'm giving you right now, what inferences can you make about me? So let's see what you guys are responding. Once you start writing on it, then I can start reading it. Okay, let's see. I love traveling. You're correct. I love traveling. Yes. Let's see. Anybody else that's writing? The more that you write, the answers start popping up. Okay, let's see.
Kennia, would you like us to write in the Zoom chat or somewhere on your presentation?
You can write on the Pear Deck. Once you join, it's interactive. So like you can write over there and I can see on my side, I can see what you guys are writing.
Okay. So, and you don't need to share your screen for this?
I can share my screen if it's better for you guys.
Oh, no, not at all. It's however you want to do it. Just
I can share my screen and you can type on the chat if you prefer to. So this is what you guys are seeing. And what I'm seeing is a little bit different because I have your responses. So I see you love to travel, the Honduras, then I see, oh, you like animals, you like dogs, yes. And then there's, of course, the famous Monopoly. So that being said, thank you for the introduction. I'm Kennia Fuentes. I'm Kennia. Kids call me, Señorita Fuentes, Miss K, you name it. One of the most important things and one of the reasons why I really enjoy doing this, particularly my kids are in the Spanish immersion program. So all of this would be in Spanish. So, I would say, ¿qué inferencias tiene o qué inferencias puede hacer sobre la señorita Fuentes? So, they start and they're like, oh, okay, what does that mean? Monopoly. So you like Monopoly or board games? Or do you like this or do you like that? And that's kind of like starts promoting a little bit of, like that conversation and that curiosity, I think, of who you are, what you like doing. So here I'm seeing on the responses, I'm seeing you love dogs. I'm seeing, yeah, you circled it. You come from Honduras. You can do, oh, somebody said you can do magic. Reading, yes, definitely. Okay, so sharing a little bit about ourselves with our students is quite essential for us to connect with them. So this is one of the quotes. I went to Costa Rica a couple of years ago and I did my TESOL course in the middle of the jungle. And one of the things that was taught to us was connect before you direct. And it never had been so important as, when you're in the classroom, why are you going to do the assignments that I'm asking you to do? Why are you going to do this for me? Like, I'm going to be challenging you. I'm going to be pushing you to be your best, but why are you going to do it? Before I ask you to do something, there has to be that connection. So those are words that I have never forgotten. Connect before you direct. So if I can have any volunteers to help me read, this is basically the definition by CASEL, which is the collaboration and the official definition of social emotional learning. If anybody wants to help out and read it,
I'm happy to do it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
What is SEL? The process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions.
So when we think about all the words, like all the words that this is saying to us and what we want from our students, we're asking for a lot, and particularly nowadays, I feel like, I'm always like, come on, guys, you can do it. Like we use Dreambox, which is for math, and, they're required a set of lessons every week. And I'm like, come on, guys, you can give me one more. Come on, you can do it. But, how are they going to want to do that if they don't feel that connection with you? You know, so that whole process, and even like when we talk about social emotional learning, it goes far more than a grade. It goes far more than childhood. It translates into how we become as adults. And actually, in one of the studies about social emotional learning and why they are pushing it so much is because successful adults are those adults that are able to you know, control their emotions, that are able to read their environments, that are able to interact and work with others. And this is where this component is quite important. There was one of the studies that talked about that when you put more and more effort on the social emotional learning component, you have increased academic outcomes. So it says that social emotional skills led to improved attitudes about self, about others, and school, and on an 11% point gain on standardized achievement tests. Now, if you're still not here, this standardized test thing is kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard about it. Oh yeah, it's a thing. You know, like it's an actual thing, and it causes, you know, at my first year I was completely, oh no, this is, you know, they know this is just like a little check-in of what they know, but it goes a little bit far more beyond that, you know. So the schools overall, because of the grades, that like it influences a lot of decisions. So you want your kids to do good, but then not setting aside that component, that emotional component. So when you put those in, you know, the emotional component and the academic component together, you have a well-rounded kid that's gonna actually achieve better. And then it's also has proved to reduce risk of failure documented. So social emotional skills led to decrease in conduct problems. And let's face it, the students that are not doing well in their classroom are usually the students that have some sort of behavioral problems. And, you know, there's a reason for this. There's always a reason for a student acting out. So for us to be able to kind of understand them, connect with them, we're going to see a change. I mean, we're probably not going to see 180-degree change, but something, you know, like from a student that never does their homework to doing one homework per week. That's something, that's growth. And then one of the factors, the framework for social emotional learning is basically, you know, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, the relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So when we talk about this, we're referring to all of these things that students can do on their own if we let them develop all these skills. Now, how are you going to do that? So not long ago, I read this book by Hope and Wade King, which is called The Wild Card. And I don't know if it has happened to any of you, but I went through a teaching funk. Like I was really struggling, feeling motivated or feeling like I was making an actual impact on my students. I really wanted to, but sometimes, you know, there are things that we can't control, and I was really struggling with this. So instead of, you know, just moping around, I was like, okay, I got to find something that kind of like inspires me. So after reading this book, this was one of the major things that came up with it, my why, you know, and it talks about your why and how your why is going to influence your students' why, you know. So I'm hoping that we can interact a little bit around, like a little bit here, and just talk about our whys. Why do you teach? Why do you do what you do? So if you want, you can write on the chat box your why. It, you know, sometimes like I think that last time I wondered this was when I was in college, and I was, you know, we were supposed to write our teaching philosophies, and we're like, oh yes, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then, you know, here I am down the line, some years later, and, you know, has my why shifted? What is my new why? And that's what kind of keeps me going. So if you want to share your why and we can discuss a little bit about it, you can put it in the chat box. See. So I'll share with you my why mainly is, as corny as it sounds, I wanted to make this world a better place. You know, I believe that education can change lives. And I come from a country where, you know, getting a good education is not easy. So, you know, a lot of people can accomplish many things by having an education. It can take you places. So my hope was, you know, I can do my part and help people believe that through this means, you know, they can do better. They can be better. So that's my why. Okay. Let's see. Do you mind if I read them aloud, or anybody can help me just reading? Sorry, I'm trying to go through the chat box over here. Oops, sorry, I can access it. Okay, here it is. So I'm sure that children are the ones that will make this world a better place because we're an important piece in education. Teach because I believe we could help the world become a better person and a better world. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So as I was mentioning, our why will determine our students' why. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know how that phrase is, attitudes are contagious. It's yours worth catching. And that's always something like the kids are like, oh my God, that's so cheesy. And I'm like, but it's true. You know, like if you're excited, like whenever I have, like this past week, I had a math lesson, which I was not thrilled about. I really wasn't. But I was like, okay, guys, we're going to do this. We're going to ace it. It's fractions. You know, we're going to do it. And then, you know, like they're like, fine, I don't love it, but okay. You know, like it does influence. Like the energy that we put into things is going to influence how they're going to do their work too. So our whys are going to determine their whys. If you have a chance and you can read the Wild Card, I do recommend it. There's this other cool book too called Teach Like a Pirate. I mean, those books during the summer were the things that, you know, really helped me out. So when we talk about strategies, we talk about different things that we can do. One of the first things that I always do, and I talk to the kids and we have that time to actually just go like, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? But the first thing that I do is set clear expectations. They have to know where the boundaries are. I can be there for them. I can be their biggest cheerleader, but I'll also try to push them and, you know, say, hey, you can do this. But in order for them to have those interactions, they really need to know what their expectations are. You know, I've had this, some of my students have brothers or sisters that are in middle school and they have their cameras off. So I was like, I'm so sorry, but when I'm talking to you, I want to see your face. Like I don't want to be seeing like just blank, you know, blank screens, because then who am I talking to? I want to get to know you. So, you know, sometimes I'm like, I even go into the camera. I'm like, okay, I'm watching you right now. What's that? What are you eating? What are you doing this? So this is something that I've used and I always write it down. Particularly right now, I'm completely virtual. I don't have any students interacting in my classroom. So they really need to know the Google Meet expectations. You know, they use the chat box and now it's like, I do put it there, but they know, like, you know, if we can have our celebrations, we can have this, we can have that. But there's always going to be a time when it's time to work, it's time to work. So they're going to be asking questions about the work. So setting like clear expectations is, that's definitely, I would say, like one of the things that can help us have a good classroom environment and definitely set that pace for learning to happen. So I have a little game for you guys, and I'm hoping that you guys can play it with me. So how many of you guys like Christmas? I have kids that actually don't celebrate Christmas, but they celebrate Hanukkah. So today's the first day of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah. So we have this game with them, which typically, like, this is a little bit more fancier than what I normally use. I normally just use the emoji copy and put it in their chat boxes. So for right now, we have the Christmas movie emoji game. So let's see. In the chat box, write, which Christmas movie are you looking at right now? And let's see. Yes, Expreso Polar, Polar Express, definitely. Yes, Expreso Polar. Ding, 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 ding. So normally I use Class Dojo, and every time that you get a a correct one, I'll give you a class dojo point. And they love hearing that bling, you know, it just keeps them like, oh yeah, I want more, I want more. Let's see, let's go with the next one. Our next one. What movie is this? And let's see through the, trying to get the chat box there. No, not Rapunzel. Come on. Look, it's a city. And what is that? It's where it's green. It's in the city. It's Christmas movie. So let's see. I'm trying to read the. No, there's Miracle on 31st Street. No, not Mi Pobre Angelito. Okay, this is one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies. It's about this. Hold on, I'm trying to read. Maybe somebody guessed it right now in the chat box, or if you can help me read the chat box, it'd be easier. So let's see. This movie is. Sorry. Oh, can't read it. Die Hard. A clue. Okay, a clue. He's in the North Pole and he's not supposed to be in the North Pole. And let's see. When I'm sharing my screen, it's a little bit.
We have Santa Claus, Elf.
Elf, correct. You're good. Okay, now this one.
Yay, Jonathan.
Yeah.
A Home Alone.
Home Alone, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for reading that. I'm trying to like.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, it took me a while to catch on to the fact that you actually do need help here. Yeah, so sorry.
I love this one. It can be used for 2 different holidays.
Los Guardianes, Extraño Mundo de Jack.
Extraño Mundo de Jack, which in English is
my apologies for the Spanish.
No, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, Extraño Mundo de Jack. And then this one.
That's Frozen.
Yes.
I watched it a million times. That's what you do when you have 2 girls.
Oh my gosh. So for this other activity, you know, these are activities that we can do in our morning meetings. We don't really need, hold on, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can go over here. And the people, yeah, I have several people that have their cameras on, which is great. For this next activity, this is what we're going to do. So we try to usually have the kids pumped and like, oh yes, we want to do this. We want to find ways to see how we can connect with them. So for this activity, all the people that have their cameras on, you guys are gonna turn off your cameras if I say something that you like doing. So for instance, if I say, turn your cameras off if you like chocolate. Oh my gosh, wow. So everybody likes chocolate. Awesome. You can turn them on again. So let's see. For the next one, turn your cameras off if you like music. Yeah. Okay, turn them back on. Let's see. Turn your cameras off if you enjoy teaching. Okay, thank you. You can turn your cameras back on. So you can come up, like it's really not much of like prep work, but it really gets the kids, you know, particularly in the morning when they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sleepy. It really gets them like, oh, wait, you're wanting us to turn off your cameras? Like I would say like, turn your cameras off if you took a shower this morning. So they would be like, you know, I would have a couple of kids that were there. I was like, and they're like, oh, no, wait, I did. So, you know, they would turn off their cameras, particularly when we're doing, you know, dual language. You can do all of this in Spanish. Like it's not necessarily like, oh, English or Spanish, but I typically, all these activities, I do them in Spanish with students, like, apaga tu cámara, sí, and then, you know, thank you so much for helping out with that. So these, you know, like these are just like really simple things that we can do to kind of like get them a little bit in it. And I've been reading this book about creating social and emotional learning environments. And one of the phrases that really stuck with me, and I think that a lot of us have heard it, MASLOW before you bloom. So in order for students to be able to grow academically and to achieve and accomplish and acquire all of those standards, they really need to have those basic needs met. So they really need to have a solid social and emotional foundation before they can learn. You know, a kid that is tired, a kid that is hungry, a kid that is sleepy is not necessarily going to be prepared to give their best academically. Even if they want to, you know, they're going to be tired. They're not, their conditions are not necessarily helping them accomplish those particular standards. So that is something that we really have to take into account whenever we're teaching, you know, and that's why it's important knowing our students, because a couple of years ago, what we did was, you know, my school does have reduced breakfast or has free breakfast for some students. So, you know, I would say like, hey, you know, a couple of them, maybe I knew that they had breakfast, but then at 10 or 11, they would be a little bit hungry. So we would have like some snacks in there. And so like, okay, let's, you know, I would just grab like a little apple. Okay, we can have a little snack while we read right now. And they wouldn't feel awkward about, oh, I'm really hungry right now. I haven't, you know, I don't have any, oh, there's some, of course, right now with COVID, things have changed a lot because, you know, sharing things and all the new regulations that we have set in place are not necessarily conducive for sharing. But, you know, as I tell the kids, we will see each other again in a classroom eventually. And, you know, all of this will come back again. So, there's also different programs that different counties have in order for students to, you know, have some of those needs met as well. So let's just make sure, like, you know, that we connect with them so that we can then challenge them academically. So another thing that we do, and this is something that my team and I like really do, are like the check-ins, are either when we are doing the pair deck that you're putting like the emoji, or if right now I just say, hey, on the chat box, what's an emoji that would describe how you're feeling right now, you know? And then you just put your emoji based on how you're feeling right now. Morning meetings are an excellent time for us to kind of gauge how our day is going to be. Like, you know, sometimes when we were in class and you would see that kid that would be like, oh, and whenever they looked at you, they would be like, you know, you're like, okay, I guess it's going to be one of those days. We're going to try to change it around. We also have, this is something that I do with the kids, that my happiness list. You know, sometimes, yes, you're having a bad day. We all have those, but let's try to think of our glass half full and not our glass half empty. So every time that somebody's like, oh no, everything, you know, everything is bad at the world. Oh, I hate it. I can't see my friends. And, you know, like I've heard so much of that. So I'm like, oh, but you know what? Let's write 5 things that make us happy. You know, like, oh, I'm happy because, oh my gosh, my coffee this morning was great. Oh my God, that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh my God. No, oh, my dog learned a trick. Yeah, I mean, he can sit now, doesn't sit for long, just for 2 seconds, but it's better than yesterday. So, you know, like just enjoying those little things and making sure that, you know, you change their, kind of like their outlook on things. Yes, they're always going to be something that brings you down, but always try to look something that's going to like be your anchor, be what helps you. One of the things that we started doing through when we started going remote, we really wanted students to be engaged, and we really wanted students to be there. And all of these things, like the more that students feel comfortable, the more that they're going to do for you. So, you know, taking care of their emotional needs is also going to result in students that are engaged, students that are going to want to give their best for you. So one of the things that we did, we had this virtual spirit week. So, you know, like this was one that we did for May. So like on May 4th, you know, show us your Star Wars. So like when we met, we all had our Star Wars shirts. Some of them had their like Darth Vader masks. Other had like, you know, one of them had nothing, and then they drew a mask. You know, it's just like, and I was like, oh, you know what? You get dojo points for being the most creative. You know, like just wanting to be part of things that are going. I printed this. I have my Bitmoji. So what I did is like I sent my Bitmoji to their places, and I was like, hey, it's gonna be spring break. take me with you on vacation, or take me with you where you're going. So they would send me pictures of, like, I have one, the others, they're so nice. I could have blurred their faces, but I went to the beach with one of them. I was fishing with another one. I was practicing the violin with another one here. And it's really funny how they got into it, because then I would find myself in different places. I'm like, wow, I mean, flat Señorita Fuentes has gone a lot of places, guys. Or just even wearing a collar today, like, oh, okay, let's see the collar that most of you wore today. Like, how are you feeling? Oh, we're blue today. Oh no, why not? Different ways. We did a virtual talent show. We used Flipgrid for it. So I have some kids, one of them was showing us how to make a drawing. Another one was showing how to teach our dog tricks, or sing, or, act a little. So just anything that kind of wants them to do things is later going to turn into them performing better for us and them wanting to do things for us. And it never gets old. Look, when I first started and we were doing this whole virtual thing, I was at home and I had just gotten a new puppy. So I had 2 dogs now, and, they're both like, "Arr." So I would be teaching, and then all of a sudden, I would get one of them like, my older dog, he's just like, oh, and he gets on you and he wants attention. So I was like, okay, this is a perfect example, guys, of what you should not do to your parents. So Maluma, do you think that was right? So they would laugh about it. And, so then afterwards they would be like, oh, after class, can I show you mine? Can I show you mine? Mine does that too. So, I said, you know what? Not today, but on Friday, when you have completed all your Dreambox lessons, we're all going to do a show and tell. So you're going to show us whatever you want, like your pets, and you're going to show us what they do. So, show and tells, they don't get old. Like, I have one of my roommates is a kindergarten teacher, and they do show and tells all the time. And then I thought, like, well, maybe my kids are not going to be that into it. I was completely wrong. They loved it. They were so, excited about showing what they had, or, like, oh, this is what I do. This is what I like doing. Then, it really helps you connect with them. And also it can be a price that you invest nothing in, but giving your time and attention. And then this is something that I love. I love games. So that's why I put like the little Monopoly guy. I love games. Anything that I can turn into a game, I will. So while online, this was a little bit frustrating at the beginning, because of course, I was used to doing Jenga in the classroom for math problems. You'd get, a piece and you'd had a math exercise. You had to solve it. And if you got it correct, then you were able to take it out. If you didn't have it correct, then you had to put it back in there. Twiggling around, like Sorry was another one we used. Like, think of all Shoots and Ladders. There's so many board games that we have, or that they can even come up with. And, they were like, oh, I had this, my mom said I could bring this to school. We used the Bean Boozled, sorry. Like, so we would have those and we would spin it around and they would be like, ugh, yucky. But they would be so excited about it. Come on, is it today? Is it today? I'm like, no, I need to see more Dreambox lessons, guys. I mean, and I would just shake the little Bean Boozled box there, and they would be like, oh my gosh, come on, who hasn't done their lessons? And they would help each other out and boost each other up so that they would do their lessons too. So right now, while online, I've actually, because of Twitter, actually, I discovered this website called Bamboozle. So it's kind of like a Jeopardy base, and they're really good. They're really nice. They actually gave me the upgrade because I was using their free stuff a lot, and just like, oh my God, this is so great, but I wish I had the upgrade. And, I got it because of Twitter. So GimKid has now a version of Among Us. If you haven't played Among Us, which I'm really bad at because I always get, voted off and whatnot. GimKid has now Among Us version, and you can do for Spanish immersion particularly. It's really hard to find like engaging and more active things because a lot of the things are done in English, but you can create your own questions so that your questions can be in Spanish. Quizzes is another one. It's great because it's like a game. So they think that they're playing while they're actually doing their math exercises. Kahoot, which is when all else fails, we Kahoot. They love competing. They love games, and Quizlet helps us review as well. When we're cultivating this social emotional learning skills, when they're doing collaborative projects. Right now, I use Google Meet. We're not allowed to use Zoom in my county, but Google Meet has the breakout groups. So what I do is, like, if we're all together, I'm still going to give you a chance to do pair work, even if we're not together. So breakout groups gives them a chance to, have those communication skills, that critical thinking, that creativity, that communication, like all of the 4C components, they can get them through this online scenario as well. And this is I had most of the pictures that I had were with them and their faces. This was the one that I couldn't possibly hide it a little, but this was when we were in the classroom and we have a storyboard, and they have the whiteboards because we would do math with these board games. So, and I didn't even have to get most of these games. Most of the time I ask parents, hey, do you have any board games that you're not using anymore? Or, I don't really need all the things that but the board game, having it would be great. So I got a lot of those through donations as well. And last but certainly not least, finding different ways to connect. How can we connect with them? We can have special lunches. So, if I know that there's a student that, they haven't been showing up a lot for the meets, they haven't, been turning in work, I just call their parents and I'm like, hey, do you mind, we're going to do a special lunch, and we just sit together for a couple of minutes through my lunch period. And, we talk a little bit about what's going on, how can we help, and, validating their emotions. It's all right if you feel down. It's all right if you feel, angry. Some of them were like, oh, such and such had a birthday party, but my parents didn't let me go because of stupid COVID, and you're like, and I feel for them, I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, yeah, I get you. I was supposed to go home this summer, but then I couldn't. I really miss my friends too. But you know what? We're good. We have people that love us around us, and that's something good. Finding those ways. And I'm like, oh, and what do you miss about, and they start asking questions. Oh, what did you miss the most about not going home? Like, oh, I miss, I have a cat back home, so I miss seeing her. I miss my mom, my brother, my friends. So, having those opportunities really gives you the chance to connect with them. And then I have over here, that's just a list of resources. Those are free resources that I've gotten from different teachers. So if you click on the link, there's I have this website page where you can get the expectations that are there. You can get those other games too. And then there's one for social and emotional learning strategies, the videos. Class Dojo, if you haven't used Class Dojo, I love Class Dojo because it really helps out, parent communication. It helps out keeping the students also on track. I have it on my phone so I can message them and, oh, wait, you can't see it, but because of my background, I'll remove it. But, it also, it really helps me stay on track if I need to tell parents, I record these little videos for them and hey, this is my midweek update. Hey, I need your kids to read the email. I send I don't know if you can see it through there, but I send the pictures of what we're doing. So this all creates a great classroom community, and that's what we are. We're together for the entire year. We become part of each other's lives. One person's success is everybody's person's success. One person's struggle is everybody's struggle. So, just finding different ways. And it doesn't really have to be oh, I'll send you something on Amazon. I'll send you this, I'll send you that. No, sometimes it's hey, you're doing great. So what I do sometimes is I send, it's called a happy mail. And the only thing I do is I put this big emoji, happy emoji, and I tell parents, hey, you just got a happy email. Your student has been doing great. Please make sure that you congratulate them. And, and I do a phone call and hey, keep it up. You're doing great. It doesn't even take not even 3 minutes, but it's great. And they're oh, and is your dog there? Can I see them? And something okay, Marco, here, Maluma, they want to talk to you, I guess. But you know, it's just creating the perfect opportunities that will really have your students connecting with you, and that will really change everything. Like, you know, it will make them want to do more, it will make them want to participate more, and it will definitely change things for us, because I know that we can struggle a little bit too. So, you know, hopefully this can help out.
Thank you so much, Kenya. We so appreciate this. Thank you. So many good ideas. I saw lots of nods, especially during the activity when you had us turn off the video. It's such an easy, like a simple thing to do, right? And just never even thought about it, but it was so much fun. So thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been TikToking a lot. I mean, watching TikTok videos, and I get so much out of it. Like, I'm like, oh yes, I can do this in my room. You know, you know, just finding different inspiration where you can. Like,
it's interesting. I don't even have a TikTok account yet.
well, see, the kids would be doing like all these things, and I was like, okay, guys, I don't understand what's that. And they're like, you've never heard of TikTok? I'm like, no, what is that? You know, so that's kind of how I got into it, because they would talk about it. I'm like, okay, no, I need to know what this is. And it ended up having a lot of teachers then sharing a lot of things now.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So are there any questions or anything for Kenya, or anything that any of you would like to share? I'm sure many of you are doing some of these things as well with your students. So just feel free to unmute yourselves and share if you would like. Lots of thank yous coming in through the chat.
Yeah, I do have a question, and I don't know if I can put it into the right words, so I'm going to try my best. I understood that you try to make use of these SEL situations on a daily basis. It's not something that you just come in like the genius hour once a week or whatever. It's something that you try to use every single day.
Correct. And we actually have now in our schedule, we have a morning meeting time. So Wake County starts classes at 9:15. So we have a 10-minute time where we are, you know, and even as they're coming in, I'm like, oh, what you have for breakfast today? Or, hey, you know, so are we, you know, it depends on the day. Or sometimes I'll just get them, like I have Spotify, like there's Spotify kid-friendly lists. So I just receive them with music, and then I'm like, okay, we're dancing. And, you know, just kind of sets a good mood to them as well. And then we can just be like, hey, so, you know, today is going to be a day where we do this, this, and that. Are you ready to give me your best? So it's an everyday thing, because the more, you know, like the more routine that you make of it, the easier it is for them to share. If not, some students are very closed off. They, you know, they don't necessarily like sharing, but it really helps them out if you do this every day, because it's not like, why are you asking me that? Do you know something? You know, it doesn't come up as something, you know, what is going on? It's so weird. I mean, at the beginning, they're like, okay, are you all right? Like sometimes when, you know, when they're not talking, and I'm like, okay, because I asked them, okay, such and such, can you now read? Can you now read? Because I'm like, guys, I'm tired of my voice. Come on, you got to help me out. So like, and then if nobody's like doing that, I'll be like, do you want to build a snowman? And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, okay, oh, now I got your attention. Okay, so perfect. You can read for me. So, you know, it's just finding different ways to get through to them, and, you know, them knowing that you are there for them. I think that that's the most important thing. You know, it can just be like, give me a thumbs up, thumbs to the side, thumbs down. Like it you know, like 10 minutes or 5 minutes that you do it. And if you do it every day, you'll start seeing a difference.
So is it something that you also have to write down in your plans?
Well, typically what I do is I already have a set structure for morning meetings. So let's say that we start our morning meeting with a daily check-in. Sometimes I can do just a Google form. I have 5th graders, so it's a little bit easier for them to like access all these things. So I can do like a Google form, and based on the Google form, I can start seeing like, oh, such and such, okay, I'm not having a great morning. oh, it was my mom's birthday yesterday and I didn't get her a present. Like, you know, like, is there, because I do ask them, is there anything you want to share? You know, are there any celebrations? Are there anything that, so it's something that I do have planned. You know, once you have that set structure, it's, you know, you typically start with a daily check-in, which can just be, I vary the strategies because sometimes they do get bored. But I start with a daily check-in. I start with like, okay, do you want to share something? Or I start with celebrations too. Sometimes I have like themes. In our school, we use the positivity project. So let's say that the value for this week is gratitude. So I'd say, oh, Patricia, is there anybody that you want to show gratitude to today? So, you know, like, oh, such and such helped me out with my assignment yesterday. So thank you. You know, like, and it's you can come up with 3 things to do every day. Like for me, it's the morning check-in. It depends on the skill, on the value that we have for the positivity project, and then kind of like a wrap up and just give them like the workload for the day afterwards, you know, just kind of like get them informed. And then like, okay, are we ready to learn? Do we have everything we need? Are our minds here? You know, is our body here too? So yeah, all of these. Oh, the gratitude jar. Yes.
And you do everything in Spanish?
Everything in Spanish, yes. By 5th grade, it's, you know, a whole lot easier. One of my roommates is from, she does kindergarten. And at the beginning, there's a lot of like, you know, like happy. And I would laugh, like, you know, when I would see her, because I was like, oh my God, how do you do it? But now when I see her, she's like full on Spanish. And they get it. And like, sí, feliz, feliz. Or like, enojado. And like, you know, you see all of this and like, wow, like a couple of months and they're getting it, you know. And it also has to do, I guess, with, you know, facial expressions, and also has to do with the vibe, the energy that they feel. So all of it is in Spanish.
That was a really good question, Ari, and it actually is a good point about participate learning dual language programs, which is what Kenya is a part of, is that our belief is that is how children best learn languages, is to be totally immersed. And so for our dual language teachers, the expectation is that if you are teaching in a dual language program, that you are teaching in Spanish from day 1 in kindergarten 100% of the time. The only time that the children hear English in our DL programs in the early grades is when they go to their specials, their gym, their PE, their art, their music. And then as they go up in grades, there is a little bit an increase in the amount of English that they have each day, so they can get some of those English language skills as they get closer to testing grades. But that is something that the Participate Learning Dual Language Program believes wholeheartedly in. And, you know, we advise the teachers when they are getting observed, and Kenya would know this from years when they're being observed. That is one of the things that the observation, whoever's doing the observation will comment on. If there's too much use of English and you're in a situation where you should not be speaking English to them. So the dual language teacher never speaks English to the students in a Participate Learning Dual Language Program. But as the years go on, they will spend more time with an English teacher, and the English teacher will do English to them. So yeah. So that's a great thing for those of you that are candidates to know when you come, is when you are with your students, you are speaking to them in Spanish 100% of the time.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Michelle. And I put in, for those of you who would like to learn more, I put in a link to our dual language program from our website in the chat. So you are welcome to check it out. This is the kind of program that we have at Jeffries Grove, where Kenya teaches, which is in Raleigh, where I live. So Kenya, yay, Raleigh, North Carolina.
I know.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for joining us this evening. We really enjoyed your presentation and appreciate you very time and all the time that you've put in to prepare for this. Thank you.
No. Thank you guys. I love sharing, and you know, it's what I'm here for. So